Hi, everyone, and welcome to Deadline's virtual Sundance studio. Today, we're here to talk about CODA with writer-director Sean Hayter, actors Marlee, Matlin, Troy Kotsur, Daniel Durant, Amelia Jones, and Eugenio Derbez, as well as interpreters Heather Rossi, Jack Jason, and Josh Steckel. Welcome all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
you.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, this is a terrific film. Sean, could you first just tell us a little bit about what inspired it and why this was a film you were excited to make?
Sure. I originally got involved in the film. It's based on a French film called La Famille Bélier. And I was approached by the producers, Patrick Washburger and Philippe Brousselet. They wanted to do an American remake of the film, but they also really wanted someone who was going to take the premise and then make it wholly their own. And so that was an exciting opportunity to me, I think, to have something to go on. And I thought the premise of the original film was very interesting, but also there was really an opportunity to set it in a world that I knew really well. I grew up in Boston and I grew up going to the North Shore every summer. And so I knew the fishing community there a little bit. And so I was very excited about those possibilities, and also to tell a story that I felt was a very universal story about, a girl coming of age and sort of trying to separate from her family, but also that was very culturally specific, and excited to kind of sort of tell a story about a family that we normally don't get to see on screen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love to hear from the five actors we have, maybe starting with Amelia, just about your first impressions of the script and what excited you about, working on this film.
I mean, so many things excited me about working on CODA. The minute I read the script, even when I was just auditioning, I was blown away. I thought the way Sean represented this family was so beautiful. And I loved that Ruby, obviously she's an interpreter for a family, and it meant that I would have had to have learned ASL, how to work a fishing boat and how to gut fish, how to I never had a singing lesson before too. So I knew that if this was a project that I was lucky enough to be able to do, it meant that I had to learn a lot of skills. So that really drew me to the project because I love a challenge. Mm-hmm. I also spoke to Sean before I got the part, and hearing Sean talk about the project and hearing how passionate she was about it really made me want to do it, because I knew that she would push me, and we both learned ASL together, so I knew that it would be a fun journey to go on together. And I also loved that Sean had cast deaf actors in these roles, mm-hmm. because it's such a beautiful language, and Daniel, Troy, and Marlee are such incredible actors that no one else could have done these roles justice. So it was a project that I just immediately wanted to be a part of, and I'm so grateful that I was able to.
Eugenio, what was the draw for you? You got a great character, obviously, as well.
Well, there's so many things. First of all, let me tell you that when something's meant to be, it's meant to be. Many years ago, Patrick Wachsberger taught me about this movie, and he invited me to watch it, probably 4 years ago. And he said, there's a very interesting movie, a French movie, and I'm a comedian, so usually I do comedies. And he gave me this beautiful, he showed me this beautiful movie, and in case I was interested in adapting it as a comedy. But I thought it was more a drama than a comedy, and I loved it. But I passed because I felt it was not a fit for me. And I was always like, probably I made a mistake because it was an amazing film. Anyhow, 4 years later, I received this call asking me if I would do a role in this movie. So I was like so excited to be part of this film, and let me tell you, we were trying to make my schedule work around the shooting dates, and I met with Sean a couple of times, and then I couldn't. So finally, I passed for a second time, And then they checked in on me like 3 months later, because their dates moved, and then I was able to do it. So when something's meant to be, it's meant to be. So, and I love this movie because of so, not just for that, of this curious story, because I also love working with female directors. I mean, I think that Sean has an amazing sensibility. I think that female directors are more sensitive, and they know what they want, and no one like Sean to bring all this heart to the movie. She's definitely one of the best directors I've worked with in my entire career. And really, it's not because she's here. I'm not kidding. She's amazing. She looks at any single detail. She's really amazing, and the cast. Oh my God, I'm speechless, honestly. But it was one of the best experiences in my career.
Marlee, maybe you could tell us. I mean, the family here, the Rossies, it feels so lived in, and you have such a beautiful chemistry between all of you. Did you have time, like rehearsal early on, to kind of get to know each other and get to establish that, or how did you find that relationship with each other for the film?
Well, we had the advantage of having known each other before we did the film, before we even shot a frame in Boston. So I took advantage of that. When I got the script the first time, I fell in love with it. I have to say that. So, of course, thanks to Sean, he just wrote a wonderful script, and so thank you so much. That's Sean's name sign. And so we had a chance to talk about the film. We went over different aspects, different characters, the storylines. And I knew that I had to be in this film when I saw the script. I really wanted to. And I told her probably like 100 million times that I need to be in this movie. I must be in this movie. I have to do this movie. But yes, we had known each other, the other players. We bonded instantly. We were just like glue attached to each other. And I knew how the Deaf Actor, I'm referencing the Deaf Actors, I knew how they worked, having worked with them before. But it wasn't as intense as it was when we actually worked on the film. But yet I was still in awe of their work and watching them grow and seeing them delve into their characters to the point where we were able to put that was on the screen. And as far as Emilio and Eugenio, I felt very, very blessed to have the both of them on the set as well. They just rounded out the cast. I can't even imagine anybody else being in the film. I mean, I'm biased, but I really know when I feel that the cast is great, that when we all click together, it means that everything is working. And that's what happened on this film.
Mm-hmm. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about your experience here and I guess the highlights of working on this film?
Well, one of the biggest highlights is just being work with a great people, a great team, the right cast, the right script. All of it came together and really made this happen. That's really my highlight. It was just a great experience. The journey on the boat, learning how to fish, all these adventures. It was so fun working with Amelia. It was really fun to watch her and her growth through her journey and the frustrations. And we felt it, because it's based on our personal experiences, of having a CODA. And just a special moment when my family went to see Ruby, at her audition, just where that silent moment, that was just that moment in time where you enter into our deaf world. It's just for a moment out of your lifetime. But yeah.
What about for you, Daniel? What did you most enjoy about the process on this film?
Really, for me, being with the cast, and we had such amazing chemistry right off the bat, and we just worked so well together, and I enjoyed every minute of being with everybody. We had so much fun, and we had really great connections in the ways we talked about our characters. It was absolutely fantastic. And Sean, you are just so brilliant. It was so amazing to work with you as a director, and you knew exactly what you wanted, and you were able to give us your vision. And it was such an opportunity for us to all be together. And of course, really my favorite experience, as Troy was saying, was being on those fishing boats. And that was such a unique experience for us to be able to film on those boats, to have the whole crew go out to sea. It was such an honor to be a part of this project.
And if I could add, I mean, it's not often where you see directors that really take the time to learn sign language. She really cared about the movie and the script. And that really brings out the best. And it's really unique. You do not see many directors. And I really appreciate it and felt so blessed to work with you, Sean. And especially Marlee as well.
Oh, I love you, Troy.
Me too.
I want to add, Sean. Sean worked with ASL. You know, it meant the world to us. Not, you know, just as a director, you know, saying, "Hey, I'll use an interpreter." She didn't do that. She really made a point of working with us one-on-one. First, learning to sign. You know, even talking with us before having the interpreter there. I mean, she wanted to make the connections with us as actors who use sign language. So it was really, I mean, I have to thank Sean for making that extra effort.
I second that sentiment. Yeah.
And yeah, I would like to just say that our experience working with Sean and just watching her and having our ASL master to also be able to catch the things that we were doing, and you guys work together as such a team. It was so amazing, and we're so lucky to be able to have a director like you who's able to watch our signs and understand them.
And for Amelia too, you got to give praise to Amelia, not only to be able to have to learn to sign, she had to learn to sing, she had to act, she had to wear so many hats, and I give props to her. I mean, very, very proud of you, Amelia, for what you did. And I wasn't worried. I never, at one point during the film, did I say, okay, this is going to worry me. She's not going to be able to do it. She hit every single point. And Eugenio, I wish I had scenes with you, but maybe we'll have one in another film too.
Oh, hopefully.
And Troy saying, me too.
Yes, all of us.
Well, I wanted to ask Amelia about the handling these musical performances. Bearing in mind, you said you haven't had any singing lessons or anything before. I mean, you're a natural. Like, what did that involve? Were you singing? Was that all captured on set, or what did that entail?
Yeah, so we all the songs were recorded live on set. I hadn't had any singing lessons prior to shooting, but I had singing lessons the minute I found out that I was cast. I'm always singing in the shower and things. Like, I do always hum, so I do love singing. I was never confident enough to do something like this, but it was good fun learning, and I loved the songs that Sean picked, and we worked really hard together, and it was fun performing and when we were doing the choir scenes. But my favorite was signing and singing Both Sides Now. That was a really special scene for me. It kind of brought my two favorite things now in life together, and it was a challenge, but I loved it. And now I've continued to learn sign language, and I love singing and signing, and I'm trying to learn different songs and things. It's hard now to do it because of COVID, but I'm trying to do it over Zoom. But I just fell in love with the language, so singing was great, but learning sign language was even better.
I do want to jump in on a point that Daniel made, and also something Amelia mentioned, which is that I would not have been able to make this film the way that I did without our ASL masters. We had Alexandria Wales and Ann Tomasetti, and from the very beginning, where they were reading the script, I worked with Alexandria to, I wrote the script in English, and it was a real process. ASL is not translated English. It's its own language entirely, its own grammar, syntax, and a culture that goes along with it. And I knew what I didn't know. And I came in and I had amazing deaf collaborators. And I felt like I was able to be the conduit to sort of bring all of this collaboration together. But I certainly wouldn't have been able to make this film without the collaborators that I had.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess last question. This can go to Marlee, Daniel, Troy. I guess what obviously further strides need to be made in bringing deaf stories to the screen and having that representation. But I guess what kind of deaf stories would you hope to see portrayed more in the future?
I'm glad you asked that question, actually. Thank you, Matt. In terms of representation, I think it's extremely important to, to be authentic. First of all, you need to understand the emphasis of having deaf actors playing deaf roles. What I'd like to see from here on out is naturally 100% a deaf person having the opportunity to play a role that's deaf. But I think in terms of stories, I think we've seen that era, gone past, where deaf people are playing victims, stories that have to do with, having deaf actors like they did in this film carry the film, not play secondary or third-rate roles, but rather lead, carry a film, and play professionals, play a variety of characters, because they are out there. They exist in the real world. There are deaf lawyers, there are deaf teachers, there are deaf doctors, so I'd like to be able to see the trend that this began and continue.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Marlee said. And you have to think a little bit outside the box and present more opportunities. And instead of just having two options, you write the script, because somebody's deaf, or I'm writing it because it's a character that happens to be deaf. There's a distinction there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also I agree, to add on, I feel that the reason, what CODA is so great about is it shows our culture. It shows the culture that we live in. And also there's the deaf culture, and there's also a CODA themselves who have hearing culture and deaf culture, and they have a journey between both worlds. And then there's also the hearing world. So it's nice to see all of those worlds together. And like Marlee said, we don't want people to pity the deaf community or think that, like, to show us in a role that's lesser than, to show us in the roles that we live in.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Marlee says.
Well, that is unfortunately all the time we have. I could ask you guys a million more questions, but this is a really fantastic, very moving film. Thank you all so much for being here. And everyone, please check out CODA today at Sundance when it premieres at 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
Thank
Matt.
you.